Good day. I want to demonstrate the significance of friendly societies by starting with a single object. In All Saints Church, Nocton, England, there is a banner. The wording reads, Loyal Ripon Lodge IOOF, thou shalt love thy neighbour as thyself. The image is of a man in a rural area helping another man who's on the ground. And it's similar to a huge sail, as it would have been carried by a group of people, men probably, working together. It's a bit like a military standard, borne aloft in a battle as a message board. The illustration of the Good Samaritan doesn't give much of a clue as to the age of the banner. The big clue is the name. IOOF stands for the Independent Order of Oddfellows Manchester Unity Friendly Society. There are only two local Lord Ripons in Nocton, father and son, so we can narrow down when the banner was made between the 1840s and the 1870s, when many friendly societies were founded and the Oddfellows developed many branches. So what was a friendly society? Friendly societies used pooled money to protect members, almost always working men, against the consequences of not being able to work at their normal trade due to unexpected problems such as injury or foreseen problems such as old age. People who wanted support in times of trouble, such as the illness or the death of a breadwinner, often turned to such societies. The society supported widows and orphans in the case of a male member's death and offered private affirmations of solidarity through visiting the sick. They've been around since at least the 1600s, but there were only legislative recognition of them in the 1790s and a boom in membership in the 19th century, particularly after legislation was passed which condemned the poor to the workhouse. By the 1870s, there were at least 6 million members, with funds running into millions of pounds. It's said that societies were formed by those travelling on the first fleet in the 1780s. In 1834, 6 men in Tolpuddle, Dorset, formed a friendly society and were convicted under the Unlawful Oaths Act and subsequently transported to Australia for 7 years. Others also took friendly societies to Australia. In 1847, the Oddfellows opened the world's first medical institute in Sydney, staffed by full-time salaried doctors. One of the first buildings in Mount Morgan, the centre of the gold rush in 1889, was the Oddfellows Hall. It was built when the church was still under construction. The images here illustrate that for many, the most important function for any societies was insurance. The quote below the banner we saw before is a reminder of the words attributed to Jesus. Thou shalt, not you can if you want to, but thou shalt love thy neighbour as thyself. Members were obliged to help out and could even expect payments in case of absence of work. The advertisement on the left offers a promise to pay out in the event of a death in wartime. Other pictures are rule books which set out what had to be contributed and what payments made. The importance attached within the Samaritan parable to kindness to strangers could have been seen as of significance by friendly society members as they tramped the country in search of work. A tramp from one of the many trade-based friendly societies which operated the system could travel the country and expect his society brothers to provide food, drink and accommodation for the night. In the morning, he'd receive either an introduction to an appropriate employer, or if there was no work, a small sum to tide him over until he tramped to the next society lodge. Some even received assistance when abroad. Seeing friendly societies in terms of insurance led Frederick Eden, in his Observations on Friendly Societies, 1801, to ask why a bachelor who wanted to protect himself against illness should pay to bury his neighbour's wife. If one assumes that the bachelor was driven by a desire to maximise his own material possessions, then efficient impersonal exchanges may have been his best strategy. However, friendly societies performed a range of other functions as well. Expenditure was linked to obligation and community. The money spent on burying a neighbour's wife or beer and rituals was part of a cycle of giving which connected individuals. Perhaps to help build bonds of trust, after all, if you're reliant on your brothers to pay up if you were ill, or perhaps because members enjoyed dressing up and drinking, friendly societies offered conviviality, singing, parades, loyalty oaths, dress codes, graveside duties, formalised hierarchies, imagined ancestry, passwords, signs and initiation rites. These images illustrate some of these activities. The societies were seen as providing a space away from the alienating marketplace and in many cases the feminine domestic sphere. For although one of the major societies the temperance Rechabites allowed women to join, most societies were just for men until the 20th century. Samaritan narrative does not feature women. The banner is a reminder that friendly societies aimed at men who wish to control healthcare arrangements, support their families by being away from those families and with other men. By facilitating risk sharing through the organised transfer of money, societies bound men together. Some were emphatically local, others based on trades or religious affiliation. Those such ones could bolster loyalty to a church or a trade. The trust built through friendships was important because the most common medical item discussed in the minutes of meetings was suspicion about the merits of claims. Claimants could be fined or expelled for visiting the pub, for example, whilst claiming to be ill. If you had paid in for all those weeks, you were entitled to a payout. In Norfolk, the Loyal Trafalgar Lodge of Oddfellows granted clearance to Brother Henry Hollis when he went to America, and he made a sick payment to Brother Ward, who, although residing in Australia, had maintained his membership. However, the long-term sick eventually ran out of payouts, and in those circumstances they could request charitable donations from the society. The Oddfellows made a point of this, claiming that hundreds have joined, knowing that we have a higher and holier end than mere pecuniary recompense. One of its lectures begins, "The first point that our order ordains to abolish you is no less than that of the first friendly duty to mankind, charity." So they're organising themselves around notions of friendship, brotherly love and charity rather than insurance. And they gave to a variety of causes, including, for many decades, lifeboats, but also to hospitals. This was particularly significant at times when hospital admissions were determined not by doctors on medical need, but by hospital patrons. Prospective patients needed a subscriber who was prepared to recommend them, just as the Good Samaritan vouched for the injured traveller to the innkeeper who was to care for him. So, most friendly societies were run by their members who elected the officers. Through these societies, people became familiar with ideas of self-government and gained experience of reaching decisions through discussions and votes and sending representatives to national assemblies. One of the arguments for the extension of the franchise in 1867 was that working men had demonstrated their acceptability through their associational activities. The parable of the Good Samaritan could bring to mind the value of creating relationships across social boundaries. Just as the injured man in the parable relied on a wealthy one, so many friendly societies had their patrons. Wealthy patrons often ran friendly societies as if they were charities, providing funding. In return, an ordinary member provided loyalty. In the case of Nocton, the clue lies in the name, the Loyal Ripon Lodge. That is, perhaps members are saying they were loyal to the employer as well as their fellow workers. The parable of the Samaritan could be used to justify social inequality by presenting society as a ladder, which even an outsider, a Samaritan, could ascend. There are internal hierarchies within the societies offering routes to higher social status for the diligent. Members could start off at the ordinary level, rise through the ranks and gain, if not power over life and death, at least some elements of the powers enjoyed by the Good Samaritan. Many societies had a symbiotic relationship with the church, and in Nocton we noted where the banner was held. Many societies also held annual church parades and were supported by the local vicar. Sometimes the vicar had to sign to say somebody was ill and deserving of a payout. Some also did the accounts or made donations. Many Sunday schools ran their own friendly societies. Friendly societies aided social stability by providing an intermediate social unit between the individual and the community. They maintained familiar ideas of reciprocity and helped to cement sociability within a rapidly urbanising, mobile population. On the other hand, societies also helped social change by facilitating the adoption of legal and rational elements through their rules about membership, obligations and roles. Having a picture of the Samaritan on a banner might be viewed as evidence that a society wished to display publicly that it was not a trade union, a charity, an insurance company or a Sunday school. They might have affinities with such bodies. Rather, it was an organisation that, through rituals and actions, created social relationships, institutionalised benevolence through a form of exchange, and stressed the importance of loyalty and reciprocity. The enormous success of friendly societies was a way of providing insurance to the ill, but when the British state took on this responsibility, just before the First World War, it was friendly societies which were used as a delivery mechanism. Workers had to join an approved society. Although most of these were friendly societies, they also included commercial companies. The system, which ran between 1912 and 1948, undermined the friendly societies, and their role was further reduced when the National Health Service provided healthcare free at the point of delivery. The form of voluntary mutual aid offered by the friendly societies declined in popularity and membership fell dramatically. Although some still exist today, their heyday is over.